Whoa, witches! Welcome back to my channel. Today's video, if you didn't already know from the title, this is my book haul and TBR all in one for Halloween. It's October 1st. We're serious right now. I got a bunch of books. 3 of them are from the library, and then 2 of them were gifted to me, so I own them. But I'm excited either way because I didn't even mean to find as many library books as I thought because it's a really small library near me because it just opened and it's in a really small place and it's not its own building. But they did have quite a big mystery crime section, which I was a little surprised at. Maybe because it's almost October. Either way you slice it, I'm excited. And I'm also going to talk about one other book, Queen of the Damned, but I probably won't get to it. But I'm just gonna add it in there. So we have 6 books for this month. 6 books. I'll tell you why later that the 6 is in quotation marks. But jumping in, we're just gonna start with the books that I own. So the first one is Dead Inside. I'm gonna put my coffee down, even though I love this mug. I got it for $5 at Target. Go into your local Target and see if you have this mug. It's amazing. So this is a very messed up book. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you that off the bat. If you're trying to get into horror and you don't even like watch a lot of horror movies or TV shows or true crime, and you're just now getting into reading horror books or psychological thrillers or crimes or mysteries, don't pick up this book. It follows 2 people that are very messed up and they're in a hospital, or it's a mental institution. Yes, it's a hospital. Okay, so there's a security guard that we follow and then a doctor that we follow, and then they figure out that they're both incredibly messed up and they have very bad taste, I should say, in a particular activity that is extremely illegal and very taboo for a reason. And then they pair up and they go about their lives for the remainder of this novel. It's not that big. I think it's not even 200 pages. Yeah, it's like 150 pages. So I would probably read this fairly fast unless I know what is in this book. So I'm not going in not knowing and I'm going to be shocked and vomit all over the place. But, you know, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of scenes that are going to make me uncomfortable, but it's Halloween, okay? So it's spooky, scary skeleton season, it's creepy season, it's you need to feel uncomfortable season because that's the fun of it, and also, you know, we have that whole mental health thing of you have to feel uncomfortable feelings to get over your fears. Different topic, but that's something that is all about being scared during Halloween. This is the time to read and watch messed up things in the spirit of coming together and celebrating the holiday. So I'm excited for this novel. I actually didn't start it yet because I started a library book, which we'll get to that soon. Next up is House of Blood, and I thought that this book was connected to Year the Witchling because that's a series by Alexis. However, I had to look it up and it wasn't connected at all on Goodreads, and then because I don't know why, I had also looked it up on Amazon. We're gonna be honest here, it's sketchy. And then I saw, okay, this is just like a standalone, which I'm excited for because I know in the traditional and self-publishing industry, they really push for book series. So I was surprised but happy to see that this book is like an alternative universe, something like that, you know, kind of like the Year of the Witchling. I'm wondering if it's also like based on Puritanism, but it's not actually. if you catch my drift, from You're the Witchling. I will have to see if it's even like, maybe they're in the same world, but like in a different area. That would be cool. There's two ways to go about this. Now, are we going like this is a vampire novel, even though it says gothic, so like you're gonna try and surprise us? Can you do gothic vampire? I'm sure you can. I don't know, but... Or is it something like Elizabeth Bathory? Yes. Where she's human, like she's kind of crazy, and she's drinking virgin blood because she thinks that it's making her powerful and young and all that stuff. I would actually be interested in reading the second option, because we all know about the vampire stories, but what about a society that they're human, but they drink other people's bloods? Isn't that interesting? I would think that's interesting. I would call that kind of gothy, a little messed up, but I don't know. Even the summary doesn't particularly tell you what it is or like what the world is about. So I am very intrigued. And The Queen of the Damned. This is probably the 6th book on my list. This is one of those books, well, like just Anne Rice in general, where you have to put up with a lot of weird writing and just pages and pages of thoughts, and the person isn't even doing anything. The vampire person, whatever, isn't really doing anything. Like, Lestat is just talking for like 10 pages, and you're like, oh my god. So I have this on the list just in case somehow I read the other 5 books, and it's still on point because it's about vampires, and you know, the Queen of the Damned is pretty spooky. Like, she's crazy. She's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I mean, she can't totally help it, or maybe she can't, you know, I don't know. But this is what the book's all about, and I don't know where we're going from here after the vampire Lestat. So it's on my list. It's at the very bottom. But before I went to the library, do like a library book haul type of thing, this was on the list, and I actually only had this book and the 2 other books I mentioned, and I was thinking, you know, that's not enough. So this was now on the back burner because I got 3 library books. Now, the first one that I am reading, I couldn't help myself. It's fine. It's okay. The Daughter of Dr. Moreau. I probably pronounced his name wrong because I don't know how to speak in English most of the time. So how am I supposed to know French? Okay, I don't know. We're just moving on. Okay, this is a retelling, I would say, of H.G. Wells's The Island of Dr. Moreau. Is that the... I got that right. I'm so surprised that I did, because I don't read H.G. Wells, and I have never heard of that story before. But I read Mexican Gothic by Sylvia, and I was like, I really loved it, and I wanted to get other books, but then I didn't have any money. But I'm so happy that they had this book, because like the vibe is a little gothic. However, this is supposedly like science fiction, and I don't know. I'm not like a fan. I don't know what the vibe is supposed to be, or like the rules of science fiction. About 50 pages in, I guess I can see science fiction because of the doctor, and he's experimenting. So that's science, and it's fiction because it's not real. You can't, you know, mix animals and humans together, and they run around and play with his daughter that's sick, and just, they're in the middle of nowhere, and I guess they're living life. They're living life, testing and experimenting on animals, and then they become human, kind of, sort of. And while kind of like a revolution, a rebellion is going on around them, okay, so I can see the science fiction of it, but I can also see the spookiness, because I'm feeling like Frankenstein. And the Frankenstein is very Halloween-y. I really wanted to throw in something that wasn't like psychological thriller, crime, horror, and give it like a little more vibe into like an array of spooky genres. But I think that it's really up to the reader what you want to do with your spooky TBR, and so I really love the cover. I don't know about the original book by H.G. Wells, but I'm diving in because the summary is fantastic. And I basically summed it up. It's like they're in the middle of nowhere, rebellion is happening around them, the doctor is experimenting on animals and humans, and he's already been successful, so there's like, I think it's a dog or a wolf hybrid that they're just running around, and they're friends with the daughter, but I'm sure things are thrown way off. And this guy Montgomery is hired to like take care of the area, and he's sworn to secrecy, but then he realizes all the horrible experiments happening. Let's see what happens. Next up is Siren Queen, and at first I was like, no, this is probably not a spooky book. But I read in the summary that it's about pre-code Hollywood, and so that is like the late 1930s. Hollywood put out a code, which is just rules about what you can and can't do and show in movies. Before the code happened, it really was like kind of a free-for-all in a way. And so I looked it up on Wikipedia, and I was amazed and I was intrigued, and I wanted to learn more because the Dracula movie is pre-code, and I watched that, the 1931 with Bela Lugosi. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I was really interested in just anything pre-code because I think that like the pacing is very weird, and there's no sound effects, and there's no music, you know, in the early movies, but it's just different and therefore interesting. And then but when you get pre-code, you get all these stupid rules, and it just like, okay. But this, if you read a little more into it, I don't think it's a horror book. Maybe it's like a mystery, but the main character is trying to get into Hollywood, into a movie, just any movie, pre-code days, so it's like 1920s, 1930s, and it says in the summary that there are Hollywood big shots, not even just actors and actresses, but like directors and producers that are doing some rituals and some very sketchy things with the ladies. And so that's giving me vibes of like a satanic ritual or something like that. And I would say that though it might not be a horror book, the subgenre could be that, or a psychological thriller. And maybe they're like doing a ritual. Maybe it's not a satanic ritual, but maybe it's a ritual like if you want to get into this movie and become a star, then you give up your soul. I'm just like freeballing the thought process just based on the summary. I haven't looked at Goodreads reviews or anything like that because I want it to be a surprise. But even if it's not something outlandish like a satanic ritual or something, they still say ritual, like magical ritual. So I say this is definitely spooky, and that's why I chose it. Okay, and lastly, we have The Children on the Hill. So this follows two different timelines, one in 1970s and then later 2019. And so in the 1970s, there's this psychological doctor that has two kids already, but then a feral child just comes to their house. And like they find her, and so then there is a game that her biological children play with this adopted feral child, about monsters and how, like, they're trying to figure out how to win against the monsters that they make up. Yeah, I mean, it's just like children's games, right? And so the feral child is like really opening up and becoming less and less feral, and it's said that she sees the monsters and she's like, yeah, they're real. That's a whole other bag in and of itself because monsters aren't supposed to be real, right? And so we're jumping into 2019 and there are missing children, and when the children are going missing, monsters are showing up in the peripheral or like in the woods. And so someone is going out to investigate why there's a bunch of children missing, and then there's just monsters. People are just seeing monsters and they're not supposed to exist, right? Okay. Now, I thought that was really interesting, and I've never heard of this writer before. That doesn't mean that this isn't her first debut novel. I'm just saying it. I'm getting into mystery more so of like this time period because I'm into mystery and crime novels based in the 1920s, like Franny Fisher. Though this probably isn't just crime, it could also be maybe like a thriller or something. I think it depends. I haven't looked up the specific genres because I was just basing it on my spooky feels and the summary. But I'm also excited to read this. I'll probably read this after The Daughter of Dr. Moreau. I have to read the library books first anyway, but I'm excited to read them either way you slice it, because I think this is a fantastic, diverse, spooky season book haul slash TBR. And I'm glad that I decided to go to the library because I think I would have had a little bit of a boring time just having 3 books and one of them is Anne Rice. That sounds mean, but I can only do so much with Anne Rice's writing. I mean, the story is really interesting and that's why I'm sticking around, but you know, you need to mix it up a little bit with like the whiny vampires. You can only do so much, right? You want scary, you want aggressive, you want violence for Halloween, not Lestat being a broody boy. So I'm just saying, you know, we're working on it. And I did, in fact, get it together for this TBR for Halloween. Thank you so much for watching my book haul and TBR for this here spooky scary skeleton season. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you have just as many books for this October as me, but if not, it's totally cool. Have a great rest of your day. Bye!